Stephanie Obi. I am the Protection and Psychosocial Officer at Great Step Initiative. Great Step Initiative is a refugee-led organization of Southern Cameroonian refugees in Nigeria seeking to address key psychosocial issues erupting within the refugee and host communities. GSI, as abbreviated, was formed or bettered from the slogan, "He that wears the shoes knows where it pinches most." Our vision is to prepare better living environment and a better future for refugees and the host community members, thereby reducing the pressure on our host communities and strengthening refugee self-reliance. This is to prepare us better when we return home. Our mission as Great Step is to inspire hope, contribute to the well-being and awareness to the refugees and host communities through integrated care, training, and capacity building. The purpose of Great Step Initiative is to empower lives for greatness through our activities, working in collaboration with UNHCR and their partners and government agencies like NCFRMI and SEMA. The efforts of Great Step Initiative can be classified under the following thematic areas, such as mental health and psychosocial support, abbreviated as MHPSS, gender-based violence, GBV, child protection, as well as preventive health and sanitation. GSI was launched on the 15th of February 2020 after gaining more grounds in these communities, but started our activities as far back as the 25th of January 2019. After the ground launching, there were numerous trainings carried out in both refugee/host communities on our four thematic areas. These trainings were conducted by facilitators from UNHCR, Ministry of Health and Civil Society, and thereafter certificates were awarded to the Great Step volunteers. We provide MHPSS both to elderly, the adults, and the children, teaching them best coping mechanisms in our environment. As our emotional-based coping mechanism, GSI has engaged in the under-14 football activities, debate, singing, etc. We equally provide domestic assistance, relaxation exercises such as taking a walk with the elderly, strolling with them, storytelling, taking the adults and elderly who are sick to the hospital, marrying with them, etc. This approach was adopted by us to erase suicidal thoughts and curb loneliness among the elderly persons within the refugee/host communities, thereby instilling hope in them to live above their fears. While the under 14 activities/debate and singing approach to orientate the children on different careers, reduce distress, reduce social vices among the youth to enable them become better leaders and assets in the future. In the area of gender-based violence, we carry out sensitization on some of the dangerous practices done by most tribes in the refugee/host communities, which infringes on the fundamental rights of these victims, such as money woman, known as child marriage, breast ironing, female genital mutilation, as well as carry out sensitization on domestic violence, transactional sex, exploitation, dangers of teenage pregnancy, especially amongst the youth. We equally organize focused group discussions in schools, health centers, refugee/host communities, Muslim communities, educating the adolescents and teenagers, girls, as well as women and men on different GBV issues, encouraging them to live a responsible and well-oriented life. Further, we offer one-on-one counseling to survivors, pointing out the various coping mechanisms in order for them to shun stigmatization and become role models, life coaches, motivational speakers by telling their stories, thereby facing their problems, thus giving hope to other victims as well as survivors. GSI has been able to bridge the gap between UNHCR and her partners vis-à-vis the refugee population on certain GBV issues. This can be seen especially in the refugee communities where money woman, known as child marriage, being GBV-related issue, was always mistaken for child abuse or child neglect, being a child protection-related issue. This is because a money woman who is a child married to a man old enough to be her grandfather, when seen by UNHCR or her partners loitering around the kitchen during school hours, will be taken by them to be a parent neglecting her child or abusing her right to education, not knowing that That child is a married woman fulfilling her married duties. Being a tradition from one of the refugee tribes and thus making it difficult for this tribe to come out of it due to ancestral beliefs, GSI, having volunteers from this background, have been able to educate and sensitize their parents about the dangers of such barbaric traditional practices, who in turn go back to enlighten other people from this very ancestral background, thereby reducing the rate of early child marriage known in these communities as money woman. Preventive health and sanitation. As our routine, we move throughout the refugee/host communities in Ogoja to sensitize, counsel, and educate the population on menstrual hygiene management for young girls and women to better take care of themselves during their menses and avoid diseases that can spike up from dirty handling of their period. We also educate them on COVID-19 during the outbreak of the pandemic, teaching them how to adhere to the COVID-19 guidelines of social distancing, wearing of face masks, regular hand washing exercises, coughing or sneezing inside their able, etc. To avoid the spread of COVID-19, we provided the population with hand sanitizers, liquid soap, and hand washing stations all over the communities. Our efforts did not go unnoticed. We were awarded winners of the UNHCR Innovation Award 2020 for West and Central Africa for our novel and creative solution in response to COVID-19. We say thank you to UNHCR for such an initiative. We equally educate the population on the need to keep our surroundings clean to avoid the prevalence of some diseases such as malaria. Sensitization on nutrition is also done by us to guard against kwashiorkor resulting from malnutrition, sensitization on open defecation to guard against infection, as well as other hygiene promoting topics. GSI also gives moral and financial assistance to the elderly and sick people to enable them go for health care. Some of the POCs have difficulties in speaking English, thus there is always that language barrier for health practitioners to better do their jobs. As a result, so many POCs suffer a great deal communicating the exact illness disturbing them, leading to poor treatment and increase in mortality rate. This made many POCs to refuse going to healthcare centers, preferring native treatment. GSI so far has been able to bridge that gap by providing interpreters, because we have volunteers from those communities, interpreters who carry these POCs to the hospitals. This has reduced the mortality rate and has made most POCs to see the need to go to the hospitals for treatment. GSI has created several sanitation clubs in schools and the refugee/host communities to better sensitize the population on preventive health and sanitation. During our club sensitization, we provide the students and POCs with dignity kits, tablet soap, liquid soap for menstrual hygiene management. In the aspect of child protection, we created both sports, drawing, arts and craft, debate and singing clubs among the children, through which they happily showcase their talent, thus shunning away from negative coping mechanisms as a remedy to their trauma. During the just past World Refugee Day celebration of 2021, these children displayed such talents like singing, acrobatics, art and craft, and the entire population was thrilled by their performances. This gave them a sense of belonging as they were appreciated with gifts and a reason to put in more effort into their talent and becoming assets in the future, which is what GSI wants for them. We equally organize child-friendly space where the children gather to learn educative plays, drama, carry out constructive games with toys, football activities, storytelling, singing, dancing, etc. to shun away idleness and negative vices such as stealing, lies-telling, drug abuse, cultism, etc. etc. Furthermore, we educate and sensitize parents from refugee and host communities about child marriage, money woman, breast ironing, child labor, child neglect, child trafficking, child abuse, child exploitation, etc., which are all dangers or infringement on the fundamental rights of the child as stipulated in the International Declaration of the Rights of a Child. GSI also offers material and educational assistance to refugee/host community children in private schools. Aside from our mega contributions, there has equally been moral and financial assistance from persons of goodwill and some organizations such as UNHCR, the International Menstrual Hygiene Coalition, etc., to carry out our activities. To them, we say a very big thank you, more especially to our mother organization, UNHCR, for her Innovation Award Prize, which has enabled us to spread our activities to refugees and host community members in Ikom, Boki, Etu, and Obanliku local government of Cross River State, as well as Taraba State. Indeed, we are grateful for such initiative to assist refugee-led organizations like ours. We cannot end without expressing our challenges encountered in the course of carrying out our activities since inception. One of our greatest challenges so far is funding. Since inception, we have not had any major funding where a budget has been handed to us by an organization to oversee our activities. Lack of funding has restrained us from extending our activities to Akampa, Calabar, and Akwa Ibom State, where we equally have a huge number of refugees, as well as restricted us from doing any major project in the states where we are well grounded. This affects the operation of our activities by 80% as we were unable to reach our expectation despite how beautiful our initiatives and projects are. For example, when we psychosocially support GBV survivors by counseling and sensitizing the youth against sexual exploitation and abuse without providing a substantial solution to the root cause of the violence and or provide them with startup kits to raise their hopes, we only solve the problem by 50%. What becomes of the other 50%? When we discourage teenagers from prostitution and transactional sex, and we are unable to provide them with what they can use to take care of themselves, like training them on different handworks such as hairdressing, tailoring, catering, etc., and giving them startup capital for them to be self-reliant, we are not completely helping them because after our counseling, they will return just to survive. So, lack of funding is our greatest challenge in meeting our humanitarian objectives, which is why we are pleading with UNHCR to include us in their plan for next year partnership and budgeting so that refugee-led organizations will meaningfully participate in the decision-making concerning the well-being of the refugees, thereby fulfilling the reason behind the Global Compact on Refugees, which one of them is meaningful participation and inclusion of refugee-led organizations in taking key decisions concerning refugees. Thank you very much for watching. At Great Step Initiative, our motto is empowering lives for greatness. I can, you can, we can. Thus, every action counts and every life matters, whether refugee or nationals. Join us today by visiting our social media handles or call us on the numbers seen on the screen. I remain your humble presenter and host,